You know what? Not all fun in your 20s may actually be harmless. Some of the habits may sneak into your marriage or into your career and destroy a future that you worked so hard to build. I'm talking about alcoholism, drug abuse, pornography, being over-dependent on our parents or our friends. You know, when we dive into alcoholism or drug abuse generally, these are habits that come in as a way of having fun. You know, back in campus, I really loved to have fun. Yes, every person who is young, you're energetic, you have all the energy to have fun. And Fridays are furahi day. You want to go out there and have fun. And like I said, I had a boyfriend, so I was like, this is now my time to enjoy ourselves, and we go out on Fridays and have fun. But what was our idea of fun? Our idea of fun was dancing all night and drinking also. I was introduced through friends. And yeah. And I remember we would love it. Drink, then dance all night, then go home. But the truth is, one day I went to that washroom and I looked at my face. I looked at my eyes. I saw how big my eyes were. I told myself, this is not me. This is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to be. And this is not who I want to become. And when I saw those big eyes, I was sure, I don't want to see these eyes again. And that's how I stopped drinking. And well, I stopped because I also wanted my guy to stop drinking. Because I told myself, I also don't want a husband who drinks. Back in secondary school, we used to have friends and they would talk about their parents after classes. You'd hear them say, oh, my dad came late and my mom is calling us to wake up and go and open the gate for him. I don't feel like waking up and open the door for my dad who is coming home drunk. Yeah. And coming from a home where there was nobody that was drinking, I thought to myself, I don't want to have a husband that drinks. Well, that's a gone past. You're talking about you. In your campus years, in that secondary school. And sometimes you could be that person that drank like me and then you stopped. But there's also that person that drank, continued drinking. It was Fridays. Now it's Mondays, it's Wednesday, it's another Friday. And all of a sudden, it's no longer that way. It's actually every day after work. You know what happens? When you're in campus, we've had students that drink like that. And eventually, you drop out of campus. Eventually, you drop out of your classes. You're no longer concentrating. What is happening to your future? It is going to the drain every day. From a small habit, from something you called fun, it is no longer fun. It is now eating up into your future, eating up into your destiny. And when you get to jobs, we've had people who actually never drank even in campus. And now they have this big amount of money And every Friday is a furahi day. Yes, it's good to have fun, but it always has got to have limits. And who is your friend? Some will introduce you to things that you can never imagine. Drinking drinks that you have never even drunk, and you become so addicted. And so every Monday, every Tuesday, you're drinking. And eventually, you fail to appear at work. So you fail to appear at work on Wednesday. You say you are sick. On Friday, you had a hangover. On Monday, they give you a warning letter. And that's how it ends up ruining your future. It ends up ruining your destiny. From a small habit, from a small place, I went out with friends. And some friends have actually been destroyed through substance abuse. You get out with your friends, and these friends, not all of them love you. Not all of them value you. Some, they're actually jealous of you. And because of that, they plan a plot against you. We've had students who are very bright, and all of a sudden, they stopped coming to school. They stopped attending classes. What happened? Nobody knows. There was a friend somewhere that trained them how to get into drinking and forget about their goals, forget about their dreams, forget about their destiny through a habit that seemed like just a weekend out. The other habit that is actually creeping into our society is gambling. Yes, every day we have gambling companies that are coming up every other day. And sometimes we find it as a quick fix. Yeah, because you're here, you're greedy. You know, I call it being greedy. You're greedy to get money very fast. The truth is, everything has to go through a process. That's why you'll find most of the time in those gambling things, we have the bigger portion of the people. You know, out of millions that are gambling, there's only one winner. And you can imagine how many of the millions have lost their money. And that's something that also causes you to lose focus. And especially when you're a student. It's very important to understand that there is a process to getting somewhere. You know, if I want to climb Mount Kenya, I cannot start from the middle. I start from down to climb up. And that's how life is. There's a process to getting to where your destination is. Most of the time, we don't want the process. We want a quick process, you know, we want to jump in and just win. Every athlete that is a winner today, carrying a gold medal, they can tell you for sure, they didn't just wake up and run. They have been running. They have been running day in, day out for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year for them to win the medal. What gambling does to your mind, it stagnates it. It causes your mind not to think. It narrows your mind and makes you just think of the next bet. And the funny thing is, sometimes you even bet with your salary, your starting salary, because you're thinking you're going to get the next million. And before you know it, you enter into depression. When you lose money, you enter into depression. You're wondering how to start over again because of a simple habit that trained your mind not to think. It may be glorified in the media, but remember, its consequences are deep-rooted. Another habit that we always do is dishonesty. Have you ever come across these people and you hear people just say, don't believe him, he's used to lying, because they're used to lying. They're not comedians, but they're just used to lying. When they're out there, they call their parents, they say they're in Nairobi, they're actually in Mombasa. Those kind of people who are just used to lying. And lying is a dangerous habit. You get to your workplace, you do the same. You're ever lying, never available, can't be trusted. It starts from a small habit. Lying to your mom. My money is finished. I need more money. I need more hair. I didn't buy the last one. Yeah? And it creeps into marriage. You're still lying. All the time. You're late. Oh, I was late at work. You're going out on a weekend? Yes, I'm actually supposed to be on a mission. Our job has actually asked us to go for a mission, maybe in Naivasha or wherever. And you continue lying, and before you know it, well, some may tolerate you, some they may not. You lose a marriage, you lose a family, you lose people loved, you lose a job, you lose an income. You'd never get it anywhere else because of dishonesty, a character that you chose to nurture by habitually doing it. And the last thing I want to talk about is over-reliance on our parents or our guardians or our friends. I've had students coming into campus and you hear a parent go down saying, imagine my daughter is coming to campus and she doesn't know how to wash dishes. She doesn't know how to wash her clothes. And I'm like, really? You brought your daughter to campus. She's been relying on you 100%. She doesn't know how to wash dishes, not wash her clothes. And here she is. She has to do it by herself. Not unless you provide money to have a nanny to do that for her. And that over-reliance, it looks more like love. Because that when I'm in trouble, I have someone I can always call. I can call my dad. Please send me some cash. I can call my mom. Please send me some money. And it grows into over-reliance. When you're stuck a little, you call your friends. Hey guys, I'm a little bit stuck. Can you help me? You're in your room, you have a stubborn mate, and you cannot handle it. You cannot tell them, walk out of my room, or just leave. You have to call somebody else. Come and help me. And sometimes our parents do it out of love. And there are times that parent who thinks they're doing it out of love, they pass on. And when they pass on, a child is left stranded. You've never learned to stand on your own. And I'm talking about people who are right now maybe in campus, or you've just left campus. That middle time whereby you're just leaving campus, or you're in campus and getting a job, and you're trying to stand on your own. But instead of standing on your own, you're still dependent on your parents, dependent on your friends, dependent on somebody. It's not bad. It's good to always have friends. In fact, you need to have a shoulder to lean on when you really feel down. But the question is, are you over leaning on? We should be striving for interdependence, not over dependency, whereby after everything, you still need them. You can't stand on your own. And I've seen children, life just collapses immediately, simply because a parent is gone. And God forbid, that is not our wish. But you need to learn to somehow stand on your own. Stand financially on your own. Well, I'm talking to you about this, but I had to learn it the hard way also. I felt some time, I just want to call my dad and tell him, Dad, I'm right now down, I need some money. But I one day woke up to myself and I asked myself, surely, who should be helping the other? Is it me or my dad helping? I looked at it and I told myself, no, I'm not growing up. I'm not maturing up. I need to mature enough and say, this can't go on. And I'm talking to you who is you've just gotten that job, but you can't manage your salary. You still have to call back home for help. Yes, and it happens. But we need to grow up. We need to learn how to be responsible. Responsible with our finances. Responsible with our emotions. Responsible with the habits we take on in our life. And I know this is hard, but guess what? It is going to be liberating, because sometimes we make decisions not based on who we are, but we look at our decisions based on who is going to support us. Because you're too dependent. You want to do something, you love to do it, but because the person who will support it may say no, so you end up not fulfilling your dream. You end up not fulfilling your passion because you are depending on somebody else. But if you're dependent on yourself, you'd wake up, you'd look for ways to do it. You'd look for ways to maneuver your way into pursuing that which you love. And if you're watching me and you're that kind of a person, I know it's hard, but I can assure you, it's going to be liberating. You will one day look back and say, it's good, I learned how to manage my own finances. I learned how to take on my responsibilities. I learned how to stand on my own emotionally. Yes, I'll call them for support, but not 100%. Because sometimes we actually stick even in wrong relationships because we are not emotionally stable. We're like, if I leave, who will be hugging me? Who will be loving me? Who will be providing for me? You're in a toxic place, but you can't leave because you're so over-dependent on that person. You know what? You need to shake it off and say, I have to stand on my own. I have to do that which I'm able to do on my own. Because that's the only time you will know how strong you are and how capable you are. I want to end with pornography and masturbation because I talked about them in the last episode. And these are habits we train ourselves to do. Mostly even when we're just employed. You have your TV to yourself, your Wi-Fi to yourself, everything to yourself, and you are able to do whatever you like whenever you like. But remember, there are dangers that come with these behaviors. Dangers of lack of satisfaction. Dangers of having sexual illusions of things that cannot happen in reality. You know, because you look back, maybe ask yourself, by the time I'm age 50, is this what I want to see myself doing? Is it something I would tolerate at 50? You know, sometimes we look at ourselves and we think, this is something I'm just doing right now. But let me tell you, there are people who are in their 40s and 50s and they're actually suffering because of a habit called masturbation that they nurtured over the years. And they're now having problems in their marriages. Some, their marriages broke up. Some, their wives are actually tolerating them. Some, it's something I can't say. You know what? I want to remind you a Japanese proverb that says, when you find yourself in a train and then you realize that you're actually in the wrong train, make sure you get off in the next station. Because you know what? The longer you stay, the more hard it is going to be to get off. And you know what? The longer you continue watching the wrong things, the longer you continue watching pornography, the more you start becoming, you start nurturing masturbation. The longer you stay in it, the harder it will be to deliver yourself from it. And if you're already there, I want to remind you, you can recover. You're not alone. And there is God. Like I said, the Bible is an answer to everything in this world. You know, the Bible says that everything in the world will pass, but the Bible and the Word of God will remain. So you can imagine that God is able, if you are willing. He says, a broken and a contrite heart, He will not despise. He will receive you, love you, and change you, and heal you. So, if you loved this episode, please share it with a friend. Share it as a warning. Share it as a healing to someone, and remind them, keep believing in themselves. See you on our next episode.